as we begin to dream about our country being healed, reconciled, brought back in together in a semblance of unity, becoming one again. Do we actually believe that that's possible? Do we actually believe that that dream could actually come true? And everybody desires it, but is it possible? Do we admit of exceptions in the dignity that we show one another? Is it possible that when we pass one another on the street someday, no matter who we pass, no matter of what political party, no matter of the mistakes that they've made in their life, no matter of the great honors that they've won for themselves, the great prestige that they've won for themselves, that we could pass them. And what we would see inside of them is an inherent human dignity given to them by God, by an immortal soul that's dwelling within them, without which no human person has ever been born. There's been no exception. There's not been one person ever been created by God that has ever lacked inherent human dignity given to them by the soul that he has given to them, so that they can exchange an eternal exchange of love with God forever. That's the dream. The question is, can we recognize it? Maybe that's the wrong question to be asking at this time in our country. Or maybe it's exactly the right question we should be asking. Maybe this is the time to be asking that question, because the answer to that question could be part of the solution. It could be the only way that we actually get there. And the answer to that question is yes, every single human person is born with an inherent dignity. And there can be admitted no exceptions to the dignity that's given to each person. The only way that we're actually equal. We continue to look at the human race and we're distinct in so many different ways. There's so many distinctions that are built into our humanity. But not because of those things do we now become better than someone else in dignity or less than someone else in dignity. Not because we're popular, because we have prestige, not because we have power or fame, not because we have greater riches or greater opportunities in life. Do we have a greater dignity than the person who has committed the most egregious sins against God and against their brothers? Not the one who has committed the worst crimes. Not the one who is thrown away by our culture, who is rotting somewhere in jail. Not the person who is poor, not the person who has a lesser job than anyone else. Not a person of a different race or a different culture or of a different language. There is no exception. Not because of that does anybody have a lesser dignity. And if we perceive that, that is human perception. That is not God's perception. When God looks down upon humanity, he sees that. He sees his sons and daughters. He does not care if we're poor or rich. He cares that our souls are united with his. That is the goal. That's the dream. That's the one thing that he makes. And there's nothing that could add to our dignity. There's nothing that could take away from our dignity. And if that's our perception, it's because that is humanity's perception, not God's. After Paul had a conversion to Jesus Christ, the one who taught us what human dignity is, he said this. He said, there's no longer Jew nor Greek. There's no slave and there's no free man. There's no male and there's no female. We are all one in Christ Jesus. Let's not get that mixed up. Paul was not saying that there aren't still distinctions. Yes, there are Jewish people. Yes, there are Greeks. Yes, there are slaves and they're free. Yes, there are those who are male and female. And those distinctions are important so much as they build up our complementarity as a human family. But he's saying when we look at one another, we should perceive the unity of humanity. We are one in Christ Jesus because he has united our souls. He has redeemed our souls. That is the way that humanity will be one. And guess what? Jesus is our only hope. Because he's the only one that has ever taught that. He is the truth. Before Jesus Christ came on the scene, there's no culture in all of the world that believed in equality and human dignity. Every culture was set up with differences in dignity. And Jesus was the first one to even say those words, to start flattening that curve, to show that every single person was made to have God dwelling within him in that human soul, to be involved in that eternal exchange of love. There's no amount of money or prestige. There's no amount of sins or crimes committed or poverty that can take away the dignity that God has given them. It's pure potential to share in that eternal exchange of love. If we want our country to have a chance, if we want to keep dreaming, if we want to find that solution, our perspective has to change now. We have to start seeing that kind of dignity in every single human person. Not lauding those who have more power in our culture, not thinking that they're better than anyone else, and nor looking at the poorest of the poor, those who have no voice and those who are not protected by our culture, even by the powerful. We cannot see them as having any less dignity than you or I or even the most powerful person in the world, because that's not how God sees. If our world, if our country, if our humanity is going to have any hope, it's going to be seeing the way that God sees, seeing that inherent dignity that admits of no exception.